Hello folks and welcome back. So now that we have the magic system mostly in place, let's move on to the shopkeeper. So the first thing I want to do in order to set up the shopkeeper is I'm going to go to my item names enumerator, because we're going to be using the base interactable. That way we can just use one and scatter them around. We'll just use one of these. So I'm going to open up my item names. I'm going to add a new enumerator. This one will be called interactable. Now in my data table, I'm also going to add a new row. Same name. So interactable. And if you remember, our on-screen prompt pulls the item name and the item image, so I'm going to establish those. The item name, I'm just going to put interact. And for my image, I'm using this picture of a glove that I have. You can get some really cool icons on that open game art, or if you have one already, that's where you would put it. So with all that done, I am now going to go out here to my content browser. In my interaction system, I'm going to right click and create a new folder called Shopkeeper. Then I'm going to create a child blueprint of my base interactable that will be my shopkeep_BP. Now we will be getting into a different way of doing this later on with some AI characters that we can actually have like walk around and maybe give them a schedule to where like during certain times or over here or whatever. But for now, this is what we're going to do. So before we mess with this one, I'm going to open up the base interactable, because if you remember, we set it up to where once we interact with it, it's destroyed, which is going to be kind of awkward if you're sitting there having a conversation with the shopkeeper and they just poof out of existence. So what we're going to do is I'm going to drag this destroy actor away. I'm going to add a branch in between. I'm going to add a variable over here on the left of a boolean called destroy ? Compile that and set it to true. Hook that to the condition and hook the true to destroy actor. Now the reason I didn't drag off and promote it to a variable is because I noticed that if I did that in the testing one, it didn't transfer this positive to all the child blueprints. You had to go in each one and manually set each one. But if you do it this way, it seems to work. So now all that's done, I'm going to grab my shopkeeper. And move it into my shopkeeper folder. So now I'm going to open it up, and on the item, I'm just going to clear that out. So where we have the treasure bags, I'm just going to hit this clear button and empty it out. I'm going to add a component of a skeletal mesh. And for the mesh, I'm just going to use the mannequin for now. We'll go later and find one. But for now, I'm just going to drop her in there, face her forward. And for the animation, I'm going to set her to use an animation asset. And the asset is just going to be the idle. So I'm going to compile that real quick. And now in the event, oh wait, one more thing. With the shopkeep up here, with the item name, you want to set that new interactable node so that it pulls the right information to put your on-screen prompts. So I'm going to drop her over here. Angle her just right. And then yeah, my interact thing is popping up, but I forgot to set her to not destroy. So did I click record? Okay, I did. I swear I need some kind of little notification just pops up and lets me know constantly, like a little button or something. Anyway, so I've set her now to not destroy. Yeah, so we're good there. Alright, so now a couple more things that we need to do inside our shopkeeper is I'm going to add a couple of variables over to her. So the first one is going to be called inventory, and this is going to be an array of item info just like our character's inventory. So I'm going to set that to an array, make sure it's the item info, because this is what's actually going to be displayed inside her shop blueprint. Now I'm going to add one more variable called inventory expected. Now this one is going to be our item name. Item name enumerator. It will also be a boolean, but it's going to be, you're going to click that little eye so that it's exposed out here. So you see I'll be able to update her inventory right from here. So with that done, let's go to our user interface, and we're going to create the shop widget. So I'm going to create a shop underscore W. I'm going to double click and open that up, and the first thing I'm going to do, just like I always do with these widgets, I'm going to right click the canvas panel and wrap it with a scale box and a size box. That way we can keep it, no matter what screen it's on, it always maintains the correct aspect ratio. So I'm going to set mine 1920 by 1080. And then after that, I am going to drag out another canvas panel to that canvas panel. Then with the second one selected, I'm going to anchor it to the center left, zero out its position, set its alignment to 0.5 on the Y, position X is going to be 50, and now the size X is 500, and the size Y is 750. You can set yours to whatever you like. This is just what I've found worked pretty decently. So I am going to grab an image and set it inside that canvas panel. Set it to full screen. It always does that. I hit the wrong damn. Alright. Let's see. 500, 750. Alright, you want to make sure you actually click the image icon. So now that's what I meant to do. So I'm going to click the color and opacity and make it black, and on the alpha I'm going to set it to 0.5 so that it's kind of see-through. Now for the offset left, I am going to put, no, that's for the canvas panel. I'm going to highlight my canvas panel, and on position X I'm going to move it to the right 50 units just to get it off there. Now I'm going to grab a uniform grid panel and also drop it on that canvas panel. Now I'm going to anchor it to the top left, and then I'm going to click size to content so that it's just real tiny right there. So, but it'll be when we fill it with buttons, it'll fill out like it should. So I'm going to set that there. Now let's set up the actual button. So we're going to do that by creating another user interface of a widget blueprint. This will be shop icon underscore W. I'm going to double click and open that up, and we don't have to wrap this one because it's going to be fed into our shop widget, which is wrapped. So this one will automatically be scaled also. So I am going to change it from fill screen to desired on screen. I'm going to find my canvas panel, and I am going to drop a button on it. I'm going to highlight my button, and I'm going to set its size on the X and the Y to 75. Then I will, where is it? Oh, right there. Drag out a text and set it right on top. And this will be item name. I'm going to set its font to like 10 and light. Then for the justification, which is at the bottom of the appearance panel, I'm going to center it. Compile that. And for now, that's going to be good. So now in our shop widget, we want to make sure that our uniform grid panel is set to be a variable in the details panel, and I'm going to call this shop inventory grid. Compile that, and then we're going to go into our graph. Now I'm going to get rid of the pre-construct and the tick, and over here in the variables we want to add a variable called shopkeeper. Now this is going to be a reference to our shop keep blueprint, an object reference. So now we're just going to basically fill out our inventory list based on its inventory. So we are going to do just like when we set up our inventory. We're going to add 3 integers. one called row, set to an integer, another one called column, and then another one called column length. So this will establish the position inside, and this will tell it when it's supposed to shift to the next row down. So for the column length, I'm going to set it to 5, just because that seems to work out pretty well. Now, on event construct, we want to let's see, I'm going to create a custom event and call build shop. You know what? No, that's unnecessary. We'll just do it right off the construct. So off the construct, I want to set my row and my column to 0 so that every time we create it, it starts right at the beginning. Now for my shopkeeper, I want to get it, drag off, and get the inventory. Now, unlike the other inventory where the player had a set inventory size, this one is going to be based off of how many items are actually in the inventory. So I'm going to drag off the inventory and get the length of it. From this return integer, which tells us how many items are in it, I'm going to drag off and subtract 1. Because if you remember, arrays start at 0, but the length measurement starts at 1. So the length is always going to be 1 higher than the actual numbered items inside the array. Now after we set the column to 0, I want to do a for loop. For loop. Plug that right in, and for the last index, that will be the last item of our array. So I'm going to drag this down, and off the loop body, we want to create widget. The widget that we want to create is our shop icon, because this will be filling our inventory panel with all of the items that we have. Oh, one thing we need to do is we need to go into the shop icon real quick and go into the graph, and we need to set a variable called item info, which will be just a single reference of item info structure. So we will get back to that in a minute, but that will help us out right here. So I'll compile this real quick. Now off the return of create shop icon, we want to set item info. Off of our inventory array, we are going to get a copy of the item info at this index and plug that into the item info so that it knows what item or what information to put on screen there. Then we will drag out our shop inventory grid, get it, and we want to add child to uniform grid. So we're going to hook up our row and our column right here, and then after we do this, we want to increment our column. So I'm going to grab out our column, get it, hit inc, increment int, increment int, increment. It's more fun to say than it should be. Off this double plus, I'm going to drag off and do a greater than or equal, and I want to check to see if the new integer of our column is now greater than or equal to our column length. If it is, I'm going to add a branch with a B left click, and then I am going to set my column back to 0 if true, and then grab and get my row back up and increment that. And I'll plug that in just like that, so that once it fills the items up to this amount, it moves on to the next row down. So with that done, now we can go into a shop icon and get rid of the pre-construct and the event tick. Drag out our button, we'll get it because we want to set the style. Now for the style, we want to drag off and make the button style. Alright, so I'm going to drag out my item info and get it, and I'm going to break it open. So what I want to do is from my normal, I'm going to drag off and make a slate brush, because we can't plug our image directly into here, but we can plug it in directly to here. So I'm going to hook this up to the hovered, the normal, and the pressed, and from the hovered, I'm going to drag off and do another there you are, make slate brush. And I'm going to hook that image up to it again, but with this one, I'm going to drag off the tint and make a slate color. So I'm going to click the specified color, set it to white, and set the value to 0.1. That way it's got this nice gray over color. Now, back in my designer real quick, because I forgot that with the item name selected, you want to set that that's a variable too. And we're going to call it item name. Compile that. And we'll grab it out, get it, and we're going to set the text with this parentheses text. And instead of having it come all the way over, I'm just going to grab out, break it open one more time, and then hook my name up just like that. Alright. How long is this video now? Oh, alright. So in the next one, we will... Which one of these is which? Oh, this is not... Okay. So in the next one, we will continue... Alright, in the next one, we will continue setting up our widget. And, well, let's make sure we left it. Yeah, we will... Now that we have our inventory being created and the icon button set up, we can actually tell our character how to get its inventory in the next one and get the widget on screen. So I will see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.